Hello, friends. My name is Saranda Bekteshi, and in this podcast, I will summarize our recent publication in the Developmental Medicine Child Neurology entitled Teleinterventions for Users of Augmentative and Alternative Communication Devices, a Systematic Review. The idea to conduct this systematic review rose during the COVID-19 pandemic, when in-person interventions were not allowed and we were searching out tele-AAC interventions as an option. Needless to say, we found no systematic review that synthesized the existing evidence that could assist us with the methodology. Therefore, we set up this study aiming to synthesize the existing evidence on the effectiveness of speech-language teleinterventions delivered via video conferencing to users of augmentative and alternative communication devices. AAC devices are defined as any method of communicating that supplements or replaces the usual methods of speech and writing where these are impaired or insufficient to meet the individual's needs. AAC modes can be unaided and aided, ranging from non-technology to technology-based AAC devices such as speech-generating devices, eye trackers, brain-computer interfaces, and others. According to the PICO principles, our systematic review focused on AAC users receiving a tele-AAC intervention with real-time feedback by a coach, which may be compared to a non-exposure control group, an in-person AAC intervention, or like a comparator, aiming to improve communication competencies. The tools to assess the risk of bias and the quality of evidence were chosen accordingly with the study design of the included studies. Thereby, the risk of bias was assessed using the coherence risk of bias in non-randomized studies of intervention and the single case design risk of bias tool. The quality of evidence was appraised using the Downs and Black's quality assessment checklist and the single case experimental design scale. We searched 10 electronic databases by combining search terms related to the method of intervention, for example, telerehabilitation, telepractice, or teleintervention, and search terms related to the intervention of interest, such as AAC, speech-generating device, and other similar terms. A total of 4,718 records were identified during the database search and an additional 35 records through other sources, such as a search of reference lists. 104 records were retrieved for full-text review. After full-text review, 98 records were excluded due to lack of teleinterventions and/or lack of AAC modes. 6 teleintervention studies for AAC users met the eligibility criteria for inclusion in our systematic review. The 6 eligible studies included a total of 25 participants with a wide age range and a variety of diagnoses, including amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, autism spectrum disorders, developmental delay, and Rett syndrome. The included tele-AAC studies provided 4 types of teleinterventions. 2 studies focused on active consultation as a method of service delivery. 2 studies provided functional communication training. 1 study compared tele-AAC intervention with an on-site AAC intervention, and 1 study focused on tele-brain-computer interface intervention, or tele-BCI. 5 of the included studies had a single-case experimental design, and 1 was a cohort study. So, active consultation is an indirect delivery strategy combining Bluetooth technology and video conferencing software to provide real-time feedback to the in-person interventionist. Findings suggest that active consultation led to a significant increase in the number of phrases and varied phrases produced by the participant, as well as significant increase of AAC activation post-intervention. Functional communication training is a behavioral therapy that aims to teach an alternative and recognizable form of communication as a substitute for an idiosyncratic response, particularly used in individuals in the autism spectrum. Overall results show that following functional communication training, all 6 participants significantly increased their use of AAC devices and therefore decreased idiosyncratic responses during activities of daily living, such as during play or eating. The 5th study compared an AAC intervention delivered via video conferencing to the same AAC intervention delivered in person. What we see in this graph is that compared to the baseline and to the on-site AAC intervention, the independent AAC responses significantly increased during the tele-AAC intervention. However, there was no washout period between the two interventions, so these results warrant a cautious interpretation. Brain-computer interface is a computer-based system that acquires brain signals, analyzes them, and translates them into commands that are relayed to an output device to carry out a desired action. This tele-BCI study included 14 adults, 12 of whom were diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Overall, we see that after 8 tele-BCI training sessions, there is an increase in communication accuracy and effective beat rate, where the majority of the participants progressed to Notepad Speller that allowed them free spelling and production of new words and phrases. Concerning quality appraisal, the overall evidence was weak to moderate, mainly related to issues with selection bias, lack of assessor independence, and issues with replicability and generalizability. The overall risk of bias was serious, mainly related to issues with the measurement of the post-intervention outcomes and lack of blinding of participants and outcome assessors. Our systematic review is limited in the generalizability of the results, with studies presenting with low quality of evidence and serious risk of bias. Going forward, there is a need for future studies with higher scientific rigor, including larger sample sizes, more sensitive outcome measures, and control groups. To conclude, overall findings suggest that tele-AAC interventions are potentially feasible and effective on a case-by-case basis, given that most of the intervention aims were achieved after the training sessions, resulting in overall high satisfaction with the method of service delivery, as reported by the participants and their caregivers. Thank you for your kind attention.